he shows up to find high elves, and he's fighting high elves, and then he eventually, the fight becomes too much. Again, he almost loses because his blade again is losing power like hell. And this guy Anub Arak, or something like that. It's this huge Crypt Lord spider thing. He's in Warcraft 3. He's like the new playable hero in Warcraft 3, the Frozen Throne, the expansion pack. So basically, we're getting into the expansion pack of Frozen Throne right now, is where the story's happening. This whole thing with Sylvanas defecting and starting her own independent undead happens in the expansion pack of Frozen Throne. He sees this undead Crypt Lord who comes and saves his ass, and Arthas is like, what the hell is this? It's like this huge undead spider. It's kind of freaking him out. And it saves him, and he introduces himself, and he's like, oh, I'm from this way really old race from like thousands of years ago, and we serve the Lich King here because the Lich King brought us back from the dead. And he's like, oh, good, because I'm pretty much in the Lich King. He talked to me through the sword, and so now if you serve him, you serve me. So he has this big army, and he's still not quite sure why he's fighting Blood Elves, and he eventually fights Theese, who is the guy that hates him from before, and they get in this huge fight. And he's like, you shouldn't have done what you did. And he's like, what the hell? High Elf Mage Theese. And he's like, no, we're Blood Elves now. And they renamed themselves Blood Elves because of the massacre of what happened to their homeland, what happened to Quell Thelos, what happened to that place, all the destruction, all the death, all the surviving people that happened after Arthas ransacked it. In homage to the people that fell, they call themselves the Blood Elves instead of the High Elves now. So the Blood Elves, Kale leads a bunch of them, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do. Like, first of all, Kale wants to kill Arthas. That's like his main thing. And I'm just going to say it right now instead of revealing it later. But Illidan eventually found Kale and promised him a lot of power if he came with him. So Illidan works with Kale now. And Kale follows Illidan hoping to find this power. Because since the Sunwell was corrupted, all the Blood Elves hunger for magic, basically. And killed Jaden, who's like, I guess, equal to Archimonde, who failed in Warcraft 3, found Illidan and said, I know you aided us, I know you aided our enemies, and eventually Archimonde failed, but I know you've worked for us before in the past. And that happened thousands and thousands of years ago with the first coming of the Burning Legion in the War of the Ancients. Can't get into that now, it's too much story. But he tells Illidan basically, the Burning Legion is going to give you one more chance. Illidan kind of has to agree, because he'll die if he doesn't, because Kil'jaeden's much too powerful. Kil'jaeden tells Illidan that he has to go to the Frozen Throne and kill it, because the Lich King is becoming too powerful. See, they're not under the Burning Legion's control. This is why they were independent the entire time. The Burning Legion needed the Lich King, and that Kil'jaeden like trapped in this Frozen Throne like way a long time ago, trapped Ner'zhul in this Frozen Throne, and during this whole coming of the Burning Legion in present day, or in Warcraft 3 time, needed this person he trapped in the Frozen Throne to start this army of the dead to summon Archimonde to this world. So that's why he called on Arthas. That's why Arthas got this sword. That's why they started this whole undead army, was to bring Archimonde into this world. But the whole time, the Lich King was not part of them and did not want to be part of them. He was trapped unwilling by them a really long time ago. And since they failed in the world, he got more and more power, and Arthas became more powerful. And Kil'jaeden saw this and was like, oh, that guy I trapped in ice a long time ago, and that guy I used to bring Archimonde in this world has his own agenda and is becoming too powerful. And he's using this guy Arthas through the sword, and it's becoming too powerful. So he sent Illidan to stop them. So that's this whole showdown at the end of the Frozen Throne, is Arthas going to save the Frozen Throne, and Illidan going to destroy the Frozen Throne because the Burning Legion wants to, and Arthas going to save the Frozen Throne because that's where all his power comes from, and that's where the Lich King comes from. So Kael reveals that he's working with Illidan, and we're here to kill your Frozen Throne, to take all your power, and fuck you. So Arthas is like, bullshit. So they have this huge fight, and Arthas is really weak, but he's closer to the throne now, so he gained a little bit more strength. The sword's glowing a little bit brighter because of how close he is to the Lich King's armor, to the Frozen Throne. And so he is able to fight, and he fights Kael to the point of about to kill him, but Kael teleports away and says, "We'll come back for you, motherfucker," and teleports away. And Arthas is like, "This ass." But now Arthas has to get to the Frozen Throne right away because Illidan is going there to destroy it. So Anib Arak, that undead Crypt Lord, ancient race guy, the spider thing, says, "I know a shortcut through, my old cities that are underground." So they go through all this crap, and they show up near the Frozen Throne, and Arthas sees Illidan. He doesn't know it's Illidan at first because he sees this thing in the distance. It's got horns and wings, and he's like, ugh. And he thinks it's just a Dreadlord from the Burning Legion, another demon. And he's like, what's up, Dreadlord? Get the hell out of here. I'm going to kill you. I don't know if you know this, but you lost a long time ago. And this thing turns around and fucking Illidan, just badass as hell. And Arthas is like, whoa, looks like the Skull of Gul'dan changed you pretty bad. And Illidan's like, yep, Arthas, I gained a lot of power because of that skull and whatever, but now I'm here to stop you, and you can't have this power and blah, blah, blah. And Arthas is like, whatever. So they have a huge fight, and it's epic. It's Arthas versus Illidan, and Arthas and Illidan are basically the two biggest badasses in all of Warcraft, in my opinion. Just everything. Every badass picture you've ever seen of Arthas, pink. And I'll flash it on the screen. And every badass picture you've ever seen of Illidan, pink. Like, they're just the coolest characters in Warcraft, by far. And so they have this huge fight, and Arthas eventually stabs Illidan, presumed dead, kind of, but he obviously wasn't because Illidan showed up in the Burning Crusade after that. Kael Theese, eventually picked up Illidan's body, unconscious body, and brought him back to Outland because that's where they were. That's where Kil'jaeden contacted Illidan because they were all in Outland for a while. And that's where you encounter Illidan because he's kind of taken over Outland, and that's where you encounter him in the Burning Crusade, in the expansion pack for Warcraft. So Illidan's taken care of. Arthas is sitting there at the Ice Crown Citadel, and he just looks up at this Frozen Throne and goes to climb it, and he does, and he's climbing the stairs, and he's feeling more and more powerful as he's going up, and he goes to, this is basically the end of the book, the end of Rise of the Lich King, the book. And this is where it left off for the longest time, at the end of the Frozen Throne. Is Arthas goes to the top, and he sits down, and he shows up at the top of the Frozen Throne, and sees this armor, and he puts it on. He puts on the helmet, the Lich King's helmet, and then he absorbs it. He absorbs everything. The Lich King, who's all weak and frozen, his spirit's been trapped in this ice forever, goes into Arthas. Ner'zhul goes into Arthas. Ner'zhul's spirit goes into Arthas. Arthas just feels the power. So Arthas and Ner'zhul together fuse to become the Lich King. And he sits it's an awesome cutscene. He sits his badass down right there on the throne. He's got Frostmourne. He's got Frostmourne there, and he's just sitting on the throne. Got the armor on. And he's the king of the world. And he sits at the top of the world. The Lich King. The spirit of Ner'zhul. The spirit of Arthas. There at the top of the Frozen Throne. And you don't know what happens. But he's there. And he's just always been lurking. And I've always wondered. And when World of Warcraft came out, and then I started playing it eventually, it took a while after it came out for me to start playing it, it was always what happened? What happened to Arthas? I know he became the Lich King, and he's up there, but it was never mentioned. Then the first expansion back came out, and it was about Illidan and Outland. And you went to Outland, and the Burning Crusade was trying to happen again. And you fought Kil'jaeden, you fought Illidan. But what happened to Arthas? What happened to this Lich King, this all-powerful Lich King, who's at the top of the world?